The entire issue of why governments exist and what they're meant to do for their people ultimately boils down very simply to ensuring people's well-being, and well-being has to be understood in terms of their happiness. The US Constitution, more than 220 years ago, talked about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But how do governments ensure people are able to be happy? I think the Bhutanese were the first to really move away from entire notions of development to that of happiness. Because what is development? As the Bhutanese pointed out, if you chop down a whole bunch of trees, you increase your GDP. But you've destroyed the ecology of that place, you're breathing less oxygen in your air. Have you not reduced the happiness? So they decided to come up with this thing called the gross national happiness, which actually measures a number of other things, including the ecology, so the trees and the environment, but also culture and the preservation of their culture, good governance policies, mental health, welfare of children. All of these things go for them into a whole notion of how happiness can be constituted. The UAE then did this wonderful thing of actually naming a minister for happiness and well-being. And then you've got now New Zealand, this year, 2019, coming up with a budget that they described as a well-being budget. That the entire budget of the country had to be geared towards the well-being of people. So there's a tremendous amount of new money, for example, for mental health. In India, sadly, we have more and more stories of students committing suicide, for example. The enormous amount of stress and pressure put on them to study for examinations, to crack those examinations, to do well enough on them to go on to the next stage in life, and some kids crack under the pressure. Now that's not happiness. If the entire purpose of education is for you to lead a more fulfilling life, look after your well-being and be happy, then something that actually drives you to kill yourself is the opposite of that. So I think New Zealand's right in saying that mental health needs a lot of focus. I like these kinds of emphases because what they're saying is, let's use the budget of the country as a means to ensure that the people of our country are happy. I spoke in Parliament on the mental health bill, and I talked about how we're in denial about the fact that people are under so much of stress. Mental health patients themselves are often in denial. So I think the whole notion of a well-being budget, a budget that promotes happiness, is a very good idea, and it should spread around the world.